The House Judiciary Committee is presently investigating White House influence over the Justice Department. What have they learned? Will it change anything with this president? We'll talk about that with our friend, Republican former Congressman Bill McCollum of Florida, who also served as Attorney General of that great state. He joins me from Florida. All right, what do you make of that damning testimony today about interference with the DOJ by the government? What do you make of that, Bill?
Well, I think that it's something we have to take seriously when somebody makes an accusation like that. But I am quite confident in Bill Barr. I knew him when he was with President Bush in the first, and I think he is a fine attorney general and very honorable. So I'm right now till we hear his response, which I get him in late July when he's scheduled to testify in front of the same committee.
Do you think that Donald Trump understands oversight? Do you think he truly understands that the Justice Department is separate from the White House?
Well, his understanding of things, Larry, is probably a little different than yours and mine because he goes a lot out of his hip pocket. But the person who wouldn't step over that line, in my opinion, is Bill Barr. So I really don't think that Barr did anything that he didn't himself want to do here. And I think he believed was the right. I have no idea what the president may have asked or communicated at any given moment because I wasn't, of course, in the room and I haven't heard anything more than you have. But I just don't see that. Knowing the man, knowing Bill Barr and his integrity, I would be very shocked if anything came of this.
Concerning the race relations of this country, we've always had a problem with it. Why do you think it's greater now? Do you think it goes back to the Floyd killing?
Well, of course, part of Floyd killing. It's a very brutal. All of us in the country watched it and were appalled by it. Clearly, there was something going on there, and one would have to conclude there was bias, there was animus, there was some reason for that awful process. And I think that there's been a long-term buildup of suspicion in the African community about police general. Although I found as Attorney General of my state, and while I served on the crime subcommittee and chaired it for a number of years in Congress, that most American policemen across this country, sheriffs and law enforcement generally, are very honorable. I don't believe they're racially motivated in what they do, but I think we've got a lot of issues out there right now. One of them, Larry, is that among the young African Americans who have come along since the days of the civil rights movement in the 60s and become educated and got into the workplace, find themselves in uncomfortable settings by virtue of people who do things that are implicit bias that they don't even realize that they've said so.
What's your reaction, Bill, to John Bolton's book?
Well, I think John Bolton is a pretty precise guy. He has an insight. He has a bias. John always has thought he's the right, he knows the best, and he's correct. I've known him a long time and often agreed with him. It looks very political coming out when it is. I guess it sells more right now than it would later. But, you know, there's probably a lot of truth in that book.
Bill, given the uptake in COVID cases in Florida, how's your governor handling this?
I think he's doing a good job of it. He is letting each jurisdiction, each county, each city make a decision if there's an uptick significant in their area. If there were to be sufficient hospitalization issues, say in Dade County and Miami, and there were a lockdown, it would occur probably only in that county or that city. So I think that's the right approach. You've got the Panhandle, you've got other parts of Florida that are much different and not having the same. So I think we need our economy to grow back where it can, and we need to take this in a paced and methodical way. And so the governor, I think, is doing a good job.
Now, Trump seems to be taking a page from the Nixon campaign of 1968 as law and order. You think that's going to work for him?
I think that the public generally does not appreciate some of the extremes that have happened. The protests are fine. They're perfectly normal. But looting and the shootings that have gone on now in this past week, the number of shootings in many of our cities, Larry, is just where it should be. So we need law and order. We need to get back to that. And I think in the suburbs in particular, in places where it matters, this Republican president, and he's lost a lot of them in the past, I think this probably plays very well. Now, where it will in November, who knows? It's a long way away to the election.
Do you agree that the word order may be different for blacks than for whites in this country?
Well, it may appear to be truthful if you go and talk to a black mother who's lost a child in a shooting in the inner city of Chicago, and I've done that in the past, you will have a very strong response in favor of order. So, on which person in the African American community you're talking to, most of us realize that law and order is in order to have a free society. And without a free society, you're not going to have racial justice. It's as simple as that. If there's real thinking going on, most are going to recognize. I think the current issue has more to do with the history of police stopping and many American community feeling that there have been too many killings of blacks, white police officers, and too much unprovoked questioning because they're suspicious or they focus black community than they do on others. I think that's generally been a problem, and it continues to be. That's the. On the other hand, there is a lot of crime in the urban areas among young black males. That has not stopped. It's a problem with gangs. It's gangs, the big violent ones like MS-13, but also a lot of street gangs. They get into, and often it's black on black crime and it's murder, death, things that I think most people in that community fully appreciate as a problem, a big problem, that they need order.
NASCAR has banned the Confederate flag at its events. Do you agree?
I do. I think a lot of symbolism that's been relative to the Confederacy in the past needs to come to this point in our history. It should have come down before now. I don't believe in tearing down all the statues in the country. You're looking at Andrew Jackson's statue the other day up in the Capitol in Washington. I can't see that going way too far. The marring and things that have been done, the national monuments, commemorate our veterans of the wars, unexcusable. But with respect to symbols like the that was being waved around NASCAR, yes, I think that was a wise decision. I've known Jim France and the France family a long time, and that's their decision.
Yeah, I know Bill France a long time too. He's a good guy. Okay, Bill, if you were the betting man, who's going to win in November?
Well, possible to see what's going to happen in November right now. I'm unbiased, and I would bet on Trump at the end of the day. I think that when Vice President Biden gets out, he's going to show a lot of weakness in the debates and that kind of format. The real issue is voter turnout. It always is voter turnout. The issue is the pensions. They're certainly there on both sides right now. And the issue is how the voters in the critical precincts in Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Michigan, Wisconsin, and Florida, how are they going to go? How are they going to feel? Because a lot of the voters there do not personally like President Trump. He has a lot of qualities that many of us don't agree with. They're going to have to sit back and decide between that option and what comes with a new Democrat that's much more inclined to go to the radical left.
Nationwide political polling doesn't make sense in a country where you have individual states counting. In other words, New York and California, they don't count in the election. It's Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, right?
That's right. It's Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, North Carolina, Florida. I suppose there are a few other states you could throw into there. Arizona, you can't. The way that Trump won last time, he can't afford to lose much of anything. He's probably not going to win Virginia.
Bill, as always, thanks for your time today. Great talking with you.
Good talking to you too, Larry.